Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, so our mission, as always, is taking your source material this time, some really specific revision notes you sent over, and pulling out the absolute must-know insights for you.
That's right.
And today, we're diving into something quite unusual. It's Cotard syndrome. Just reading the description is pretty startling.
It really is. It's one of those conditions that, yeah, definitely makes you stop and think. Looking at these notes you've got, Cotard syndrome is basically this rare psychiatric disorder,
Okay.
and it's defined by some really profound delusional beliefs.
What exactly are we talking about? The notes get specific, right?
They do. The absolute core belief, the one that defines it, is that the person thinks they are dead, like literally dead,
Wow.
or that they don't exist at all, or sometimes that they've lost essential organs, their insides are gone, something like that.
Right.
It gets called Cotard's delusion, or sometimes, and this is pretty graphic, walking corpse syndrome.
Walking corpse syndrome, yeah, that paints a picture.
It does. And the notes point out it's often associated with severe depression and also psychotic disorders.
That idea of feeling you don't exist, it's hard to grasp. So what leads to this? What do the notes say about the causes, the etiology?
Well, that's where things get a bit murky. The notes are clear. The exact cause, the etiology, isn't known. It's thought to be, multifactorial, a mix of biological things, psychological factors, maybe environmental triggers too.
So no single easy answer.
No. And the pathophysiology, like what's actually going wrong in the brain that's also not well understood. The suggestion is there's some kind of abnormal brain function happening.
In specific areas.
Yeah, areas linked to self-awareness, perception, and maybe issues with neurotransmitters or how different parts of the brain are connected and talking to each other.
So there's still a lot of mystery around the fundamental mechanism then. It's not straightforward.
Definitely not.
How common is it? Who tends to be affected? The epidemiology side of things.
Right. Well, the notes describe it as extremely rare.
Okay, extremely rare.
Yeah, so getting reliable data is tough. It seems to mostly pop up in isolated case reports from around the world. But the notes do list some risk factors.
Okay, what?
Things like having a history of other psychiatric conditions, particularly major depression or schizophrenia. Also, things like brain lesions or damage from injury or illness. And substance abuse is mentioned too.
Got it. So rare, but maybe more likely if some of these other factors are present. So what does it actually look like? If you were seeing someone with this, what are the clinical features the notes highlight?
Okay, so the absolute number one feature is that core delusion we talked about, believing you're dead, non-existent, decayed.
Right.
This often leads to denying yourself, really. Maybe denying bodily functions, like needing to eat or sleep, because, dead people don't.
That makes a grim kind of sense within the delusion.
It does. Other things listed are severe apathy, just a real lack of feeling or interest. Social withdrawal is common. Nihilistic thoughts, this feeling that everything is pointless. And critically, the notes stress a high risk of self-harm or even suicide attempts.
That's a really dangerous combination, the belief in non-existence plus the potential for self-harm. So how do doctors make sure it is Cotard's and not something else that looks similar? What about differentials and investigation?
Yeah, that's super important, and the notes cover it. Differential diagnosis is key. You've got to distinguish it from, say, major depressive disorder that has psychotic features or schizophrenia or maybe other specific delusional disorders. There can be overlap.
Okay.
So investigations involve a really thorough psychiatric assessment. That means getting the full history, really digging into the nature of those delusions, and crucially ruling out any underlying medical or neurological problems that could be causing or mimicking the symptoms. You need tests for that.
Right. Rule out the physical stuff first. So once it is diagnosed, what's the plan? How is it managed according to these notes?
The notes outline a multidisciplinary approach. So not just one thing. It usually involves psychotherapy, things like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and supportive therapy are mentioned.
Okay.
And that's combined with pharmacotherapy, so medication, usually antipsychotics, sometimes mood stabilizers, depending on the full picture.
And what about the outlook, the prognosis?
It varies, as you'd expect, but the material does say that with the right treatment, the right support, people can see improvement, symptoms can lessen, and that sense of reality can start to be restored.
That's actually quite hopeful considering how severe it sounds. Are there specific risks or complications to be aware of, according to the notes?
Yes, definitely. The notes list a few key complications. Obviously, there's the severe emotional distress the condition causes. major impairment in just, daily life, functioning. We mentioned the increased risk of self-harm and suicide, which is a big one. And then there can be complications either from underlying conditions that might be present or sometimes from the medications needed for treatment. It's definitely high risk.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up, pulling the key points from your revision notes. Cotard syndrome. Super rare, really complex. Core belief is being dead or non-existent. The why is linked to brain dysfunction, but it's not fully understood.
Right.
Diagnosis needs care to rule out other things, and it carries significant risks, especially self-harm. But, and this is important, the notes show that a combined treatment approach, therapy and meds, can actually lead to improvement and help restore that connection to reality.
Exactly. And maybe a final thought, something that really stands out from looking at this, is how this condition makes you think about the brain and our sense of self, how fundamental our feeling of being is and how potentially fragile that can be. It kind of questions the nature of existence itself, doesn't it?
It really does. A very profound point to consider.
Yeah.
Okay, that wraps up our deep dive into Cotard syndrome based on your notes. And remember, if you're looking for more revision support, do check out passmsra.com and also freemsra.com.
Good resources there.
Hope this session was really helpful for your revision.